Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, the best place for language teachers looking for tips, ideas, recommendations, suggestions for their language lessons. I'm Mary and today I'm here to talk about question formation. Well, we all know that questions are an essential part of communication in English, but forming these questions can be very confusing for some students. Yes or no questions, WH questions, tag questions, choice questions, hypothetical questions, indirect questions, leading questions, not to mention the right intonation questions. So apart from explaining our students the theory, what else can we do to help them with the formation of questions? Yes, practice. So before showing you some speaking activities involving questions, I would like to recommend your students an app called Elsa Speak. I don't know if you've heard of it, but this app has literally marked a watershed in the history of my lessons. Well, when I say that, because I've been teaching Spaniards for quite a while, and Spanish speakers in general, they've got a tendency of using the raising intonation for all questions. So instead of saying, where are you from? They're going to say, where are you from? Or what's your name? And it's quite difficult to work on fluency, pronunciation, and intonation in class because usually we've got only 2 hours, or 3 hours per week with a student. So they do have to find other ways to practice this type of things by themselves. So just for you to see a bit of how it works, this is their website and their app. And Elsa uses artificial intelligence to give students precise feedback on their speaking skills. So when they start using the app, they're going to be given some words to be read aloud, and the app is going to personalize their lessons according to their fluency, pronunciation, and intonation. Well, they've got more than 1,600 lessons on different real-life topics. And the good thing for us teachers is that we can create our own study set and we can share it with students, right? So just to give an example, I'm going to use my phone here. Talking about intonation, I'm going to look for some intonation practice, right? So scrolling down, okay, I find it here. So basically, the student is going to see some words or some sentences. It depends on the lesson, and they just have to listen to it and try to repeat. So let me see. I'm going to try the first one, but I'm going to do it wrong, okay? So let's see what happens.
I went to the store.
I went to the store. So I've got instant feedback. Look, tap any red words to see detailed feedback. So when I type here, they say emphasize this word more. Try to make it stand out. So let's try again. I went to the store. Woo! And they are offering my audience 85% discount on the lifetime pack and 40% discount on the 1-year pack. So click on the link below, it's in the description, and send it to your students. So the first one I call is the teacher's business pitch. If you've been to my channel before, you know that I'm a big fan of what we call a business pitch. So because basically they help students think critically and also help them with creativity, with fluency. They have to convince people to buy like a product or a service in a specific amount of time. So very nice activity from fluency, pronunciation, speaking point of view. But what we are going to do here is I want them to ask me questions. I don't want them to present a product to me. So I'm going to be the one presenting something and trying to convince them to buy my product. In this case, for example, just to give an example, I've got this colorful umbrella. So I'm going to start like, hi, how are you? So I'm here, to present you, to introduce you to my new product. It's a very good umbrella because you can use it when it's raining. So obviously my pitch needs to be very bad. Otherwise they are not going to have any questions to ask me, okay? So let's say that I don't say the material, I don't say, the uses, why my umbrella is unique. And after my presentation, they have to come up with questions. And obviously I have to answer them. And they will say if I'm convincing, whether I'm convincing or not. So they can come up with questions such as, what is the material of the umbrella? Why should I buy your umbrella and not Marta's umbrella? So they have to ask you the questions, right? And you can obviously put the questions here to help them. So for example, what is it made of? Or what is the material, right? And if they don't know how to structure the questions, obviously you're going to help, but they are the ones doing Well, so the second activity, I call it the internship. So ask your students about their role at work, or if they're not working, just something that they would like to do in the future. And then you're going to tell them you are looking for a vacancy and you want to be their intern. So let's say, for example, your student is a designer. So give your students some time for them to think about questions, possible questions they would like to ask an intern in case they were looking for someone to work for them. And then your students are going to ask you the questions. So in the case of a designer, for example, maybe they could ask you, where do you get inspiration from? Or can I see your portfolio? Or maybe do you prefer drawing or you prefer painting? So they have to come up with these questions, give them some time. And obviously, again, you can write all the questions here and you can help them in case they don't understand or they don't know how to form the questions properly. So where do you find or where do you get your inspiration from? Okay. So the third activity, I think we all know it, is the guess the celebrity thing. So this is very easy to prepare. Basically, you just have to think about a celebrity. I would recommend you to think about someone from the student's country, so it gets more exciting and you show them that you are really interested in their culture. So in my case, I've been living in Spain for some years, so I'm thinking about someone that is very famous in Spain, well, specifically here in Malaga, where I'm living at the moment. So the student you just give them some time to think about questions and they can come up with things like, do you like singing? Or are you alive? And if they cannot guess, if they ask you, you see that they're asking you for 100 questions and the game is getting a bit boring, you can just give them a tip. So for example, look, I can say, this is one of my pieces of art. So they know that I'm an artist. I'm not an actress. I'm not an actor, but I'm someone that paints. So, well, in this case, I'm thinking about Pablo Picasso, but you can basically think about, anyone that you want, and it's very nice. Fourth activity, I call it get them drawing. So if you watched this video, you know that I mentioned that sometimes I ask students to choose a photo and they have to describe what they see without showing me the photo. So I have to try to draw what they are saying. So look, my last attempt with David, one of my students, was this. So he was seeing this photo on his phone and he described everything to me, and this was the result. And this is not bad, okay, because I was using this. So it's a bit difficult and I'm not a designer, but what I do when I want them to ask me questions is to do the opposite. So I choose a photo, they cannot see it, right? So I'm going to choose, for example, this one, and just imagine this is here on my phone. They are not seeing it. The screen is just white. And you have two options, you can ask them to grab a pen and paper and they can literally draw, or you can give them control if you're using Zoom, for example, and they can draw on the screen, okay? So you have to describe. So you're going to say, well, I see two guys, and they will have to ask you hundreds of questions, for example, but should I start in the middle of the screen? Or are they tall? Or are they, wearing a shirt? So you're just going to give them basic information and they have to do the hard work asking you the questions. So for example, in the background, I can see mountains. So they have to ask you, but are the mountains high? Or are the mountains the same size, or can you see the sky as well? Okay, so loads of questions. And the very nice thing about this activity, that is very natural, because they really want to draw it right in the proper way. So it's natural. The questions are natural. They don't have to be thinking about it. And obviously, if they make mistakes when forming the questions, you're going just to write the correct way, and then you can just do some code correction. At the end of the exercise, you can go through all the questions and say, look, this auxiliary should be here, or this verb goes to the bare form, okay, and go through the questions again. And activity number 5. Now, you probably know that I'm a big fan of social media, and I suggested all the activities used in Instagram or Facebook before. But this one is a very nice one because you're going to use your social media, or if you don't want to do it because it's too personal, just choose a photo of yourself, so in like a situation or in the past, or maybe when you were a child or a teenager. So the thing is, you're going to choose a photo. So let's go. I'm going to scroll down and find a photo of me teaching, maybe, right? So, let's start with this one. So they have to ask me questions about this photo. So for example, when was it? where was it? Well, in this case, they can say it was in Ireland, but they can say how old you were, or who was with you, or what was the situation? Why were you in Ireland? Okay, so they have to come up with questions, and you're going to tell them the story. Or maybe, I don't know, let's take this one here. So I was teaching, so they can ask you, for how long have you been teaching? Or when did you realize you wanted to be a teacher? So you see, there are loads of types of questions that they can ask you. They don't have to be direct, basic questions. And you tell them a story. Obviously, don't choose a photo that you don't want them to see, because for obvious reasons. But if you have social media, for example, and you don't mind them seeing your photos, this is very easy. You don't have to prepare, you don't have to do anything, basically. Okay. And that's it for today. I'm not going to take more of your time. If you want to recommend Elsa Speak to your students, don't forget that I've got a link in the description with a discount, so they can love you and they can practice fluency, pronunciation, intonation, apart from vocabulary, grammar, and all these things that they need to practice. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed my activities, and happy teaching.